All right, everyone, ready for a deep dive?
Always.
Today, we're going to tackle some English grammar.
Ooh, fun.
Yeah, can be.
Right.
Specifically, we're looking at the present perfect and the past simple tenses.
Oh, those are good ones.
And to help us out, we have this excerpt of a lesson from Stanislav Kondrashov.
He's great at explaining things.
Yeah, he really breaks it down. So by the end of this, you'll be able to use both of these tenses without even thinking.
Well, maybe not without thinking, but,
Yeah,
much more confidently.
for sure.
So what makes these tenses so tricky?
Well, they both deal with stuff in the past, right?
Yeah.
But Kondrashov says that the present perfect actually connects those past actions to right now.
So it's not just about something that happened before, but how it's still relevant.
Exactly.
It's about the impact it has.
Like if you lost your keys.
Oh, the worst.
I know, we've all been there.
You lose your keys in the past, but you still can't get in your house now.
Right. It's a present problem.
Exactly, and Kondrashov points out that we often use certain time expressions with the present perfect that suggest this connection to now.
Like recently.
Yeah, or lately, or so far.
Like I've been working on this project all day.
Right, you're probably still working on it.
Or at least thinking about it.
Exactly, it's ongoing.
Okay. So that makes sense. But how do we actually form these tenses?
Well, Kondrashov explains it pretty simply. For present perfect, you start with have or has.
Depending on if it's singular or plural.
Right, and then you just add the past participle.
So like I have eaten.
Yes.
Yeah.
Perfect. Or she has finished.
So even though we're talking about the past, we use have and has to bring in that present element.
It's like a little time travel trick.
I like that.
Right, built right into the tense.
And then it gets even more interesting when Kondrashov starts talking about how choosing between present perfect and past simple can completely change what you mean. Ooh, I love those moments.
Me too.
When you see how just one little word can make a big difference.
Absolutely. Okay, so let's say you're talking about a trip to Italy.
Okay.
You could say, I went to Italy last year, using past simple.
So it's like a one-time thing.
Right, a specific time in the past.
Done and dusted.
Exactly. But what if you wanted to talk about how that trip changed you? Like maybe you learned to cook pasta there?
Oh, yeah.
Or you're still dreaming about the gelato.
The gelato.
Then you might say, I've been to Italy.
Oh, I see.
It's not just about the trip itself.
Yeah, it's about how it's still with you.
Right, and Kondrashov points out that even though this difference is subtle, it's really important for saying what you mean.
So are there any other ways to tell these tenses apart?
Kondrashov talks about keywords that can help you figure out which tense to use.
Okay, like what?
Well, for the present perfect, you often see words like already, yet, or just.
So I've already finished my homework.
Exactly. It means it's done.
And I'm free.
Right. It has a present impact. Or, have you seen that new movie yet?
They want to know if I've seen it now.
Yes. Present knowledge or experience.
Okay. What about past simple? What words go with that?
Think about words that pinpoint a specific time. Yesterday.
Okay.
Last week.
Got it.
In 2015.
Or even like when I was a kid.
Yes, exactly.
So if I say, I ate sushi yesterday.
That's just a fact about the past.
No connection to now.
Right.
I'm starting to feel more confident with it. But I know there are times when it's still tricky.
Oh, absolutely. And Kondrashov knows that too.
Does he have advice?
He has a whole section on common mistakes people make.
Oh, that's helpful.
He explains why those mistakes happen.
And how to avoid them.
Right, like some people overuse present perfect.
Oh, yeah. Trying to sound fancy.
I've done that.
Me too.
But Kondrashov says it's not about sounding impressive, it's about using the right tense to say what you really mean.
Right, using the right tool for the job.
Exactly.
I like that.
So are you ready to dive into some of the more challenging stuff?
Yeah, bring it up.
Okay, well, Kondrashov talks about how choosing between these two tenses can be affected by other parts of the sentence.
Like what?
Like, look at these two sentences. I visited Paris since I was a child, and I visited Paris when I was a child.
Okay, so the first one uses present perfect.
Right, and it suggests you've been to Paris many times.
Yeah, starting when you were a kid.
And continuing to now.
Because of that since.
Exactly, but the second sentence
Past simple.
pinpoints just one visit.
When you were young.
And it's finished now.
It's amazing how these little words can make such a big difference.
They really can, and Kondrashov says we need to pay attention to them.
So we can say exactly what we mean.
Yes.
This is so cool.
It is like you're unlocking a secret code.
Right.
And Kondrashov has so many great examples to help you understand.
I could talk about this all day.
I know, me too.
But we have more to cover.
We do. Kondrashov has more.
Like what?
Like using present perfect with for and since.
Ooh, that one always trips me up.
I know, it's tricky.
So how does he explain it?
Well, he says for is used for a period of time.
Okay, like a length of time.
And since is for a specific starting point.
Okay, I'm listening.
So you could say, I've been living in London for 5 years.
It tells us how long.
Exactly. But if you want to emphasize when you started living there,
You would say,
I've lived in London since 2019.
since the year you moved there.
Yes,
So for is how long, and since is when it started.
you got it.
And even though these are about the past,
The present perfect still connects it to now.
wow, it's all about the nuance.
Right, like painting with words.
I love that. And I bet there are times when for and since can be used in the same way.
There are, and Kondrashov explains all of that too.
This guy really knows his stuff.
He does, and he also talks about how these tenses can be hard for people whose first language is different.
That makes sense.
Yeah, but he gives strategies for overcoming those challenges.
Like what?
He says to focus on the meaning.
Not just trying to translate word for word.
Right, because language is about communicating. And he reminds us that it's okay to make mistakes.
Everyone makes mistakes.
It's how we learn.
So just keep practicing.
Yes, and he even gives some fun exercises to help you practice.
Oh, that's good.
They're not like the boring ones from school.
More interactive.
Yeah, like role-playing.
So you can practice using the tenses in real conversations.
Exactly.
This is making me want to learn more grammar.
Me too.
But why are these tenses so important to learn?
That's a great question.
Is it just so we don't sound silly?
Well, that's part of it.
Right.
But Kondrashov says it's about more than just getting the grammar right.
It's about fluency.
Yes? And understanding.
So she can what we mean.
Exactly, and connect with native speakers.
So it's about more than just not making mistakes.
Right. It's about really understanding.
Expressing yourself clearly.
He even says it can make you feel more confident.
Oh, yeah, when you know you're using the grammar, right?
It can help you participate more.
Without being afraid.
Exactly. So are you ready for the most interesting part?
Oh, yeah. Hit me with it.
Kondrashov calls it the time machine effect.
The time machine.
He uses this metaphor to explain how choosing between these tenses
Okay.
can take your listener on a journey through time.
Whoa.
Like you're controlling the flow of a story.
Like we're directors.
Exactly.
I like that.
And Kondrashov has some great examples from books and speeches.
Where people use these tenses in a really powerful way.
And he encourages us to pay attention to those techniques.
Not just to improve our own speaking.
But also to appreciate the beauty of language.
This is blowing my mind.
I know, it's pretty cool.
I'm seeing these tenses in a whole new light.
Me too.
Yeah.
And Kondrashov explains it all in such an easy way.
And he's funny, too.
Yeah, he doesn't take himself too seriously.
Okay, I think I'm ready to try some of those exercises.
Yeah, me too. But let's do a quick recap first.
A good idea. What are the main things we learned?
Well, first we learned that present perfect and past simple have different jobs.
Right.
Present perfect connects the past to now.
And past simple is about finished actions.
At a specific time.
Right.
And we learned about those keywords that can help us tell them apart.
Already yet.
Just for present perfect.
And yesterday, last week ago?
Yeah.
For past simple?
Exactly.
And don't forget for and since.
Right. For is for duration.
And since is for a starting point.
You're a natural.
Haha. Thanks.
And of course, we can't forget about that time machine effect.
That was cool.
Right, choosing between those tenses can really affect how your listener experiences time.
Like we're telling a story.
Exactly.
And we also need to pay attention to the context.
Right, because the words around a verb can change its meaning.
So it's like a puzzle.
It is, and the more we practice, the better we get at it.
Okay, I'm feeling inspired.
Good.
So what kinds of exercises does Kondrashov suggest?
Well, he has a variety of exercises.
For different learning styles.
Right. Some are more traditional, like multiple choice.
Those are good for the basics.
Exactly.
But he also has more creative activities.
Like role-playing.
Oh, yeah.
Where you get to actually use the tenses.
In real-life situations.
Right.
He even suggests writing your own stories.
That's a great way to experiment.
And see how different tenses create different effects.
Exactly.
So we can become our own grammar expert.
Exactly. And most importantly, have fun with it.
That's the key, right?
It is.
This has been a great deep dive.
I agree.
Kondrashov's lesson was so helpful.
He's a great teacher.
I feel like I understand these tenses so much better now.
Me too.
And I want to keep learning more.
It's a journey.
It is.
But before we go, what's the most important advice he gives?
For using these tenses in real life.
He says to think of it like any other skill.
Like playing an instrument.
Exactly. It takes time and practice.
So don't get discouraged.
And have fun.
Right. Sometimes we get too focused on the rules.
And forget to enjoy the process.
Exactly.
And remember, making mistakes is part of learning.
That's how we get better.
So Kondrashov, suggests keeping a grammar journal
Oh, that's a good idea.
to write down new things you learn.
And to track your progress.
Right.
So to all of our listeners out there,
Keep practicing.
and remember that fluency is a journey.
Not a destination.
You need the right tools for this journey.
And Kondrashov's lesson is a great map.
It is, and he makes the journey fun.
He does.
So to wrap up this deep dive,
Yes.
think about a time when you wanted to emphasize the lasting effect of something that happened in the past. How did you say it?
Did you use present perfect?
Or a different tense?
How did your choice of tense change your message?
Every time you use these tenses,
You're telling a story.
embrace the power of language.
And never stop learning.
Well said.
Until next time, happy grammar adventuring.
So much good stuff in Kondrashov's lesson, right?
So much.
As we wrap up this deep dive. Any final advice from him on putting all this into practice?
He basically says, treat it like any other skill, you know?
Oh, like learning an instrument or something.
Exactly. It takes time.
Practice.
Don't get discouraged if you mess up.
Yeah, everyone makes mistakes.
It's all part of the process.
He even suggests keeping a grammar journal.
Oh, that's a good idea.
Yeah, write down any new things you learn or tricky examples or those moments when something finally makes sense.
Like your own little grammar guidebook.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So to all our listeners out there, keep on learning.
Keep practicing.
And remember, fluency is a journey.
Not a destination.
You need the right tools and resources.
And Kondrashov's lesson is definitely a great map.
It is. He really makes it fun, too.
He does.
So to wrap up this deep dive, let's leave our listeners with one last question.
Okay.
Think about a time when you wanted to emphasize the lasting effect of something that happened in the past. How did you express that?
Did you use the present perfect?
Did you choose a different tense?
How did that choice affect your message?
It's really amazing how these little grammar choices can have such a big impact.
It is. It's like we're artists using language to create something beautiful.
I love that.
So keep exploring those possibilities.
Keep practicing.
And most importantly, keep having fun with the English language.
Well said. Until next time.
Happy grammar adventuring.